everyone, Enhoff here. So, I'm putting out an article today with Go Stadium to cover some things that myself and a few other members of Go Stadium, along with a bunch of other experts in the PvP sphere of the Go community, got to talk about last week with Niantic in a roundtable with their combat team. So, this is mainly focused around two upcoming patches, or rather one patch that you might already have, and one patch that is upcoming. That would be the 0.233 update to the game, and then the 0.235 update to the game. These updates contain important changes to the battle function of the game and to trainer battles. There's some things to remember around these fixes, around these updates. One is that these changes will not go into effect until, at minimum, the update has been forced. And two, these changes will potentially be activated at a point after the forced update, if deemed necessary. They still need to make sure things are stable, for instance. That's just how generally rollouts of features work. It doesn't mean, hey, if this is forced, it's immediately live. But it could be. So with that in mind, we're going to explore what some of us learned at that meeting. So in the 2.3.3 update, there's some interesting things going on around fast attacks. A lot of fast attack updates. And a lot of this will be congruent with our article that we put out around the dev diary back in March. So, one of the things that Niantic mentioned in that dev diary is that fast attacks will desync. They will not be synchronized up. So you will be in a metacam mirror and your counters will be going through one turn faster than the opponent. And that's because of communication with the server. They're not synchronized properly. And in the 2.3.3 update, there are synchronization points being added into the battle, specifically before the start of a battle, to reduce how often you will have desyncs happen at the initiation of a battle. So that's, if you start a turn behind your opponent. This should drastically reduce the instance of that happening. This also impacts how fast and charge moves interact. So if you remember from that article around the dev diary, a metacham, you're a trainer using a metacham. The metacham survives a Shadow Ball from a Drift Bloom and is at 1 HP. Shadow Ball does a lot of damage to a metacham. That trainer uses their counter and then goes to use their Ice Punch charge move, while the opposing Drift Bloom uses a Hex. They don't have enough energy for a charge move, they're just using their fast attack. So, in the present structure of the game, in the pre-0.233 update, where it's not live yet, that metacham trainer cannot use the Ice Punch. The Hex damage comes in, and it feints the metacham. Post-update, and in the article we said from our understanding, but now we know this to be the case, that metacham trainer does get to use the Ice Punch, and if that Ice Punch feints the Drift Bloom, no Hex damage is applied. So to say, the metacham survives with 1 HP. That effectively denies that Hex, because it never registers and the Drift Bloom is fainted, so there's no energy generation. So the reason that this occurred in the past and why it's changed in the future are a few reasons. Counter is a 2-turn fast move, Hex is a 3-turn fast move. So using a charge move costs 1 turn in the structure of Pokemon Go PvP. So, the metacham uses counter, that eats up 2 turns, and then they go to use Ice Punch. That's their 3rd turn. The Drift Bloom user uses Hex. That's 3 turns. Previous to this update, fast move damage took priority over charge move activation, so that Hex would feint the metacham. That's being changed to have charge move activation have priority over fast move damage. So we will see that charge move happen, resolve, and then fast move damage come through. We've actually got an example here from PvPoke, Matt, also known as empoleondynamite on Twitch, who was able to capture this happening in one of his battles. PvPoke was also one of the members in the call, one of the subject matter experts, I would say, for Pokemon Go PvP and its mechanics, having developed the PvPoke website. So here he's shared with us this clip. So if we look at this, it is a Metacham versus a Lickitung. The Metacham uses a charge move, and then you will see the Lickitung use 1 lick, and then Body Slam. Now, they used one Lick and Body Slam. Lick is a one-turn move. Body Slam takes the second turn. A counter came through. The counter damage did not happen at the start of the move, and now you see the damage resolve. I'm going to replay that again in slow motion. So we're going to turn the speed down to a quarter speed, and we see that, ooh, that power-up punch, super effective. We see the Lickitung, use a Lick, go to use Body Slam, no damage from the counter comes in on the Lickitung. We see the very slow charge move animation go through from the Lickitung here, and luckily, because it's a counter coming through, you can very visually see after the charge move that this counter damage will resolve. Now, it would be great if we had an example of a Pokemon that would have fainted. I can say that we have confirmed that that will be the case. But here is a very good visualization of that happening. And you see right after the Body Slam lands, and it pans back out, there the damage is. Now, this is obviously a change to how the game interacts around these moves, and that's pretty drastic. I will say personally, and across myself, Go Stadium's team that were present in the call, and PvPoke himself, we were quite happy with this as a change for a few specific reasons. One, it retains skill advantage and skill expression for our veterans of battling. You know that you want to throw a charge move after using a counter against a 3-turn fast move. It's what we call proper charge move timing, and isn't necessarily something I want to overly get into the mechanics of in this video, but is important for your pacing of your game. And that is still the proper thing to do with this update. In fact, it wasn't the proper thing to do prior because you wouldn't get your Ice Punch through. Or here, if this counter would have fainted the Lickitung, Matt wouldn't have gotten the Body Slam through. That's pretty big as a continuation of skill advantage, of having the benefit from learning the game. It also makes more intuitive gameplay. You say, I have Machamp against a Talonflame, I should throw 2 counters, because they're 2-turn fast moves, before I throw my Rock Slide, and I shouldn't be fainted by that Incinerate if I'm at 1 HP. And that's going to be the case going forward, that you will not have to be fainted by that Incinerate. There's a slew of other examples I could give. I'm happy to discuss this further if people have questions on it, across my various socials or in Go Stadium's Discord. So an additional change in this update is an attempt to mitigate the bug that is commonly called the third shield glitch. Now, if you have experience with the game, you might have seen this before. A charge move goes through, except it does next to no damage. It seems like it does 1 damage, so to speak, 1 HP's worth of damage. But no shields consumed at all. And so, speaking with Niantic, that was caused by something outside of their control, effectively. A connection drop between the phone and the server, which could be on the case of either of those sides, but is often the case of phone or internet service. This is also why they mentioned recently about having your best connection, whether that's through Wi-Fi or whether that's through your cell data. However, despite this being outside of their control, there's a partial fix that they've implemented. So this makes it so that all charge attacks will deal a minimum damage. If you use a charged attack, you know that if you hit none of your bubbles, you deal a chunk of damage. It's not all of it, but it's about a quarter of it. That will be the case even if there is no charge move data registered, if there's a connection drop between the user's phone and the server. Now, obviously, that's still not great, but it's what we have the ability to get into a better state. We don't have people doing no damage, effectively, with their moves anymore. So this should lessen the impact of those errors when they occur. If you have a super effective closing charge move, you should still faint your opponent's Pokemon, and they might have no idea that such an error occurred. I think that's pretty cool. Another change, I would say potentially the most exciting change of this update, is that switch buttons will stay visible throughout charge move animations, charge attack animations. I really am excited about this change personally because I think it'll alleviate frustration around those buttons not appearing, one, but more so, making a new device more intuitive. Namely, at the Play Pokemon regional tournaments that are upcoming, I personally will be competing in one, and I do not have the same device that will be provided. And I'm glad that they're going to a standardized device. But having that in place, that I don't have to have muscle memory on where my switch buttons are, is a super nice quality of life improvement, in my mind. Now, that is it for the 0.233 update. In the 0.235 update, which is upcoming, there's some more fixes coming. We mentioned at the start of this the synchronization points being added to the game. More of those will be added to avoid mid-battle desync. So the ones in 2.3.3 were largely around start of battle desync. This is around mid-battle desync. So a lot of that often is shown as a Pokemon unable to act after a charge attack. You will resolve your move and your Pokemon won't start using fast attacks. So this was actually called out in the dev diary as well. It was listed as post-charged attack desyncs, and obviously results in a negative user experience. It also would sometimes manifest as fast attacks taking longer than expected, so you would use a Dragon Breath and it would take as long as an opposing bubble, despite there being turn discrepancies in those moves. That should also be mostly resolved from this. Some of those are, again, server or phone issues, but this should resolve most of the instances of that happening. Because of those synchronization points, because the phone and the server are meeting up and transferring information, I'm trying to explain this as least techy as possible, there's less chances for that desync. Now, further fixes are coming around shields as well. So, we mentioned in 2.3.3, there's the change to the third shield glitch where it deals at minimum a quarter damage of your opponent, of what your charge move would deal. In this update, in 2.3.5, they're adding transparency into when you go to use a protect shield and it doesn't deploy. This will show as if it says, Trevenant was unable to deploy its shield. Now, that can be frustrating, I understand, and that's obviously an instance where we'd rather the game just work and use the shield. But the fact that it's able to recognize that and give you that information on how many protect shields you have remaining, I think is very valuable as an improvement. It's also working to minimize those instances in 2.3.5 by using protect shields sooner in the charge attack animation. Basically, moving up in the schedule that communication so that there's less risk of it falling apart at the last second. There's more of a window of comfort in that shield deployment. This also, because it will have that message around a shield deploying, or rather not deploying, also should give a better insight into whether you should submit battle logs. Now, this is one of my favorite updates that have been added recently, is the ability to submit battle logs for the dev team at Niantic to be able to look at what errors are occurring and when and how. It is something that was echoed in our meeting with Niantic as being incredibly helpful to their dev team, and I personally plan to use it as many times as I see such errors. Now, notably absent from these two updates, and what I'm personally very upset about, is that the inconsistency of fast attacks occurring or not occurring when initiated at the same time of a charged attack, sometimes called either sneaking a fast move or denying a fast move. That is not being fixed at this time. That is not in these two updates. Now, it is on their radar, and everyone in the meeting echoed it as very serious and very important for competitive play. And Niantic responded that they are working on a fix, but there is not one ready for these two updates, unfortunately. That is something that we are continuously conversing with them on and pressuring them about. I also want to say that there is a lot of feedback coming from the community in this season. I think it's one of the best parts of this season, despite, I know, frustrations around it being unranked. And that feedback is being seen by us at Go Stadium and being passed along, as well as being seen by Niantic themselves. There's a lot of work to do, as I'm messaging right now, about fast attacks specifically. But updates like this and transparency like this into what's happening and how it's going into effect makes me feel a lot better about the future of Pokemon Go PvP and where trainer battles are headed. So just an update, we've been closely following the Pokemon Go Championship Series that has been ongoing, and we have some speculation into how this impact, this change, might not be live in trainer battles as opposed to the Go Battle League that we were able to recognize it taking place in earlier with the clip from PvPoke. So when we discuss things with Niantic, we have been able to confirm in the past that features are able to be rolled out in different aspects of the game. So for instance, in Go Battle League but not in trainer battles, trainer battles being using your QR code and battling someone in person or battling a friend remotely. Something might be implemented in trainer battles, but not in Team Go Rocket battles, and so on. We have also talked to Niantic about how important it is to maintain consistency of experience across these regional championships, and how important it is to maintain respect of players' knowledge. So, what we are speculating from a clip that we saw at this tournament, and we are going to play that now. A Medicham survives a flame charge with effectively 1 HP, throws 2 counters, and then goes to throw an Ice Punch. Does not get that move off, and there's no apparent lag or desync at play. So from that, we tend to believe that Niantic likely, again, speculation, allowed this in Go Battle League, pushed this update for Go Battle League, where these tournaments are not taking place, but maintained the previous performance for trainer battles. Now, for future tournaments, no guarantees on what may or may not happen, and even for this, again, it is speculation on our end, but we highly suspect that this was something put into place for Go Battle League, and at least for this tournament, not put into place in trainer battles. That being said, I'm very excited about this circuit. I'm very excited for upcoming tournaments. Biasedly, very excited for the North American tournaments, as I will be competing in one of them and be watching a lot of my friends competing in other ones. So this is a very exciting series to be getting into, to be watching, and I'm very glad that Niantic is taking the competitive aspect seriously when rolling out these updates. Until we get some further information around observed behavior of the game, we will be updating on how that rolls out. But thank you all so much for watching, and again, thank you for helping to build the community.